Oh, said live without a ping or anything like that. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. Well, here we are. Joe, I'm not sure if you've got a headset or anything with you, but if you could just mute your mic in between, because I can just hear a bit of feedback there with you, or someone anyway. We are joined. Let's put. Thanks very much. Let us put something up here, and then the boys will be nice. They're not going to rip into these young people. They're young people. Be kind. 2 hours of flight time, gentlemen. That is a very big claim. And where's the payload on this thing? Tell us more.
Yeah, sure. So 2 hours of flight time isn't just a claim. It is proven multiple times now. It is it's a good time getting to sit there and just kind of like fly the drone around for 2 hours. It's a much different experience than like, your FPVs or your DJIs where you kind of have to, you go up, you do what you got to do, and you have to come back down because battery life. Now you can go up, stay up, do more than you had to do, and without even having to land it. In the picture here, this is the prototype. This is the drone that we're currently working on. And V2 is coming shortly after. This drone doesn't have a payload capacity right now. It doesn't have capacity to hold a payload yet. That's still being currently designed. But with the new batteries and all that, it should withstand the same flight times and all that with a payload.
Now, I see it's an RG pilot powered craft, which I like, but I don't see where traditionally the flight controller is going to be in the middle of that thing where the hand is. Where's the flight controller?
The flight controller is still in the middle of it. It's kind of covered by the YouTube play button there. It is still a centralized flight controller on this model.
And big slow props. What's that all about? We want small, fast props.
Efficiency.
No, don't agree with them yet, Bruce.
Yeah, the efficiency is there. We'd love to make the props bigger for even more efficiency. When Orion joins, our engineer, he'd love to dive into it, exactly why these props are designed the way they are and the way that they were designed, because they're designed completely custom from the ground up with genetic algorithms that are done in-house. So
that sounded very fancy. Color me skeptical. Genetic algorithms? That's very, very fancy. What's that mean?
At least it's not AI.
No. Yeah, you pretty much plug all the factors into what a propeller can do, and it pops this out. It pops what this design is.
Yeah, I find it interesting you've got so much blade area at the root where it's really not doing an awful lot of work anyway because of the relatively low airspeed. The last 15% of the propeller does like 85% of the lifting.
Orion, you want to speak on that?
He's muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
So what was the question again?
I just wondered why you've got such a large amount of prop area near the root of the propeller blades, where effectively you've got a very low airspeed, so it's not doing a lot of work. It's still contributing to drag. The general formula from memory is that the last 15% of a propeller blade does 85% of the work. So I'm interested in why you went with that sort of large root area, because I know in the case of model aircraft, it used to be all the Taipan propellers had really wide root area, really high angle of attack. But then APC came along and kept the blades fairly high aspect ratio and improved the efficiency.
Yeah, so I think I've seen you in some Ardu pilot videos, by the way. Is that true?
I don't know.
No.
Have to ask my agent.
Anyway,
could have been on Pornhub. You might have been watching Pornhub. That's where you're probably seeing it.
No. I watched a lot of
it's your OnlyFans. It's your OnlyFans, Bruce.
Yeah, that's where I do propellers on my OnlyFans page.
That's right. Yeah, because it's OnlyFans. Anyway, boom.
Carry on.
So yeah, the propeller is designed with a genetic algorithm, and it kind of converges sometimes at different points. Like I'm still working on kind of where I want it to converge, but basically this one was designed for a little bit of a higher thrust and a lower RPM. So like you can make a less chord width and then have a higher RPM and then less pitch to it. I did try different hub diameters, and it does, like, usually the hub is kind of useless. I mean, it likes to put the root angle of attack at pretty much right at stall. So, but it still likes having a smaller-ish hub diameter. I was kind of surprised by that, but yeah, I do to try every possible sort of chord profile would take a long time. So I basically just pick 4 points along the chord and then vary that with genetic algorithm. And that's just kind of the shape that it comes up with.
What about tips at the top? One of the big things is in propeller efficiency is tip losses, because that's where you get the high pressure on the bottom meeting the low pressure on the top. You get the big vortex. That's where a lot of energy can go. That's why props tend to be quite highly tapered and highly efficient setups. Have you done much experimentation with tip profiles and things like looking at thing here? Are they shrouded, or is that a ring around the entire propeller?
So the very first thing I tested on the bench had a wider duct, I would call it. And so this one, I went with a kind of a less, this was just what was minimal for the structure to be there. And then it's not as efficient aerodynamically as the first thing I tested. So the very first thing that I tested was it actually met the predicted performance so exactly that it kind of freaked me out. I had to graph it and see that the numbers were actually different. And in the propeller literature for the you have blade element theory. There's some different theories out there, but there's an equation for an unducted propeller that reduces the lift to 0 at the tip, because I mean that makes sense. There's no lift there. There isn't. So when I do the ducted propeller, there's not an equation really that defines how much tip loss you're going to have when you're ducted versus unducted. Because like you're not going to have a perfect gap between the propeller and the duct. There has to be some gap there. And like in turbojets, they spent a lot of effort getting that basically almost touching, but not touching. So, but I can say that the first one I tested, it met the predicted performance exactly. And I basically just deleted that tip loss equation and just ran it without, assuming that there was no tip loss. And that was pretty accurate to the model. Yeah, so does that kind of answer your question? I will say the genetic algorithm, when I ran it with the tip loss equation in there, it made some really skinny tips, because it was like, oh, I'm not getting anything on the tip here. Let me make that chord like almost 0. So.
And so, did you guys start? What premise did you just say? Right, 2 hours. Let's fly for 2 hours. What premise? I'm intrigued to know how you started or arrived at this shape, or began at this shape, or it's very, very minimum, isn't it? And I know exactly what a lot of commercial users are going to say. They're going to say, "How is that sturdy to be logged in and out of a vehicle?" And just use continually. I can see that being an end user perspective. Maybe you could just help me with how you started this journey.
Yeah, so I've been flying radio controlled planes like pretty much my whole life, and helicopters and sailboats, so I did some competition stuff, some scale flying. I had a DC-3, so it was and then I got an aerospace engineering degree, so it kind of just flowed really out of that. I did the SAE heavy lift competitions. So yeah, and it just it was just like how can I make I didn't set out to go for like 2 hours. I set out to just what's the most efficient way to do this. You know what I mean? So splitting up the motor from the propeller so you can optimize them separately and then gear them together. That was kind of an enabling feature, because normally to get the torque that you need, you're fighting the size of the propeller and the motor. So with a direct drive, you have to have kind of a compromise. So, and I mean, some of the commercial drones, like they're making larger and larger diameter motors, and so that's kind of, they're moving in that direction anyways, you know.
Yeah, Gary points out like that setup you got there is obviously built to be as light as humanly possible with carbon fiber tubes and all that sort of stuff. When you I assume you're going to commercialize this. How much do you think that will affect the endurance when you have to make it, as Gary said, strong enough to throw in and out of a vehicle, strong enough to carry a reasonable payload, because a drone without a payload doesn't really serve any purpose? How much do you think that will negatively impact the performance levels you're getting now?
So the weight of the truss structure is about the weight of a lift pod empty weight, like without batteries. So about ½ pound. And the current structure was basically overkill. There's a lot there that doesn't need to be there. So that's a truss. But then if you want to have an enclosed area, then there's going to be more weight to have, you know, walls and a top and a bottom and attachment points and all that kind of thing. You know, it's certainly, so like if you are our spec sheet, so like I think at £1 pound or something like that, you know, it's costing you half an hour flight time from the spec sheet, I think it was. So the cost in the flight time when you have with this, you know, with like a normal drone, when you have like kind of a 45-minute flight time, you know, you're really cutting that down when you start adding weight. With this drone, it doesn't cost you quite as much. So in terms of durability, I mean, the very first the first endurance flight we did was, you know, like 2 hours. And you know, they were pushing me at the end, like I was at like a minute or an hour 57, like keep going, you know, and I hadn't gotten really to tune it right, so it kind of smacked there at the end. So I've flown some of the commercial drones, and I've watched one fall from 10 feet straight in the ground, and that one was made from aluminum and very machined and very, very nice flying drone, but it cost $4,000 to fix. So you know, it's kind of like you look out the
you look out the window. There is you add some lightness, and then then it's not going to be so bad in an accident. Is that where you're going with that?
Yeah. So I mean, you can make something really stiff and rigid, but then it still breaks when it falls from 10 feet. So it's kind of like an airliner. You know, you look out the window and the wings bouncing up and down. So do you want to be flexible or do you want to be rigid? You kind of got to pick. So to your point, though, that the commercial version is going to be a bit heavier, but I think where it can be flexible, it actually is good. You know, it's like in the RC world, the hangar rash, you know, planes usually get beat up more going out to fly than they do flying.
Well, a question about the wind resistance. So you know, obviously, I mean, I've seen the video. You know, I have watched the video of it actually inside, and obviously that's a kind of a control. That's a very, let's say, controlled environment. But if you're outside, you have wind. You know, let's say, you know, up to 10 meters per second or something. What? I mean, how much does that affect, you know, the drone?
So we had a webinar I believe on our YouTube there's a video of that, and it was pretty gusty, you know, and it was getting bounced around quite a bit. And I've flown quite a few other commercial drones, and I mean they're all going to get thrown around, and so like in aerospace they like to put like a control volume around something. You know, the air comes in one side of the box, it goes out the other side, and all that to say, whatever the air is doing, this drone really has to like fly through that air mass, if that makes sense, because you have so much area. A really low disk loading. So to get it moving, you kind of got to, it has a perception that it's like banking a lot to fight the wind or to move forward or to, you know, get going. But if you think about most multi-rotors, I mean, they're banking quite a bit also. It's just, I think it's just more perceptible because this thing is you know, so much bigger. I don't know if that answers it, but
Yeah. What is your market for this drone? So, I mean, what's the end game for this? I mean, who are you looking to sell this to?
He's basically asking, can you put bombs on it?
No, although when I seen the video for 2 hours, I was thinking, I know who's going to like that. But
yeah. So we have this is Justin. Justin from Modovolo as well. We interestingly enough, we have 2 defense contractors found out about us, and we're already in the process of a strategic partnership with them. No talks about munitions, but lots of talks about counter UAS sensor technologies that they want to include in the payload module. Where we're seeing a lot of interest in our pre-orders are a lot of construction use cases, like LiDAR equipment that's a lot heavier, and they don't want to spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a drone to fly that. We kind of have a nice value proposition for that. In the ag space, we're seeing use cases around pollen distribution for the quad. A lot of people have asked about, well, can I use it to spray? And the answer is we believe so, but we're not going to have a hex or octo configuration available to do that for probably at least another year or 2 after we release the first production version. But any use case where you want to lift a lot of payload for a long time, which there are quite a few, we seem to have hit a kind of a sweet spot there. But those are the ones that we are most focused on now.
Interesting. And being a fairly light and flexible craft, do you have any trouble with tuning? Because obviously with the PIDs must be quite radically different to a craft which has got faster propellers, therefore it's more reactive to inputs. And also, having spent time tuning large, sort of wobbly quads, resonance can be a real issue. Have you tried this with a range of payloads, and is resonance, like having vibration and resonance, causing any issues?
Yeah, we have a lot. We have work to do on payload incorporation. That's an area that we need to do a lot, that we're starting to work on now, but that's definitely a next step.
I can speak to the tuning though.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about tuning. That's been many hours of work for Ryan.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with like a rotisserie stand or something for some of the larger quads. I'd spent some time with the guys making like a 200-pound spraying type drone, and they had some really intense rotisserie videos. But yeah, so that it has high moments of inertia because the batteries are distributed, so it flies like a really large quad, or drone, I should say. So I had to increase the pits like a lot to get it to stabilize, and the auto tune and the quick tune didn't. Basically, what those scripts or routines would use to measure are not available in the data. You know what I mean? So it can't converge with the normal stuff. And I have a master's in control systems. So I suppose that helped a little bit with the tuning, but I'm still scratching my head.
I'm gonna talk to Louis. I think it begins with A, the base firmware and the thing. Something beginning with A. I've heard about it. It's A something or other. I don't know, Louis. I don't know. Something
Ardu Modulovo?
Ardu, I don't know. Ardu Pavlova, something like that. Yeah, yeah. Something beginning with A, Louis.
Hey,
Yeah,
could-
Did that answer
you-
your-
Taxi?
That answer your question about the tuning, or you asked me quite a bit there?
That's good. That's good. Is there a Air Taxi version coming?
Well, you laugh, but that's something that we've talked about. Like how many lift pods would it take to get that car off the ground? And that could we.
Sorry, I'm jumping in a bit there, but the lift pods idea. So it's each. So we're talking about a propeller in a ringed unit is a lift pod. Put them together how you want. We've seen this sort of idea before. How do they fit together? Just tape them to cable ties, zip
Duct tape.
ties, whatever you guys call them.
Duct
Duct tape.
Definitely duct tape.
Yeah.
Definitely duct tape.
So if I don't know, it's probably in the video. You could see it somewhere, but the in each vertex where the string goes, the line, there's kind of a male and a female connection point. For the production version, you don't need 12 connection points to go flying along with you. You only need the ones that are actually used. So I've got some different designs for how to add the connection point with, like a clamp or a cam or something like that. So you join the ducts together, and they kind of paradoxically, the truss carries the tension, the moment, the bending moment, and then the strings or the duct will carry the torque, the twisting of the prop that would normally go on the axis of the boom going back on a normal multi-rotor.
Interesting question there from Louis. As you get up into size, how to handle the certification that Louis flies some quite some large platforms. How to handle the certification?
So, 55-pound drone is. It'll probably sound crazy, but the ideal version of ours to fit in the 55 pounds would be an 18 module version.
Okay.
And with 18 of them, your empty weight is somewhere around 22 pounds with batteries, and you're still going to have a crazy flight time.
We probably have to convert to kilos because.
Okay.
Yes, because the rest of the world uses logic. Anyway, but anyway,
simplicity and smartness is way overrated. I'm just saying.
So 25 kilograms is 55 pounds. Those are the same thing.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, but it just sounds bigger, isn't it? It's that whole showing off with bigger numbers. It just sounds heavier. 55 against 20. It must be bigger.
How many ounces is that?
Yeah, there you go.
So I think we'll stay under the 55 pounds to begin with, since we don't have to certify. But I've been part of some projects with certified, drones, and it's going to be a pain. I'm sure we'll have to do it, or somebody will want to do it.
And so in this wheel, your power lines are coming. Sorry, I'm jumping on you a bit, but your power is coming in via that. So you're going to have to link them up in some way that it wires it all up. How are you going to ensure, make sure they don't fall apart? Because obviously, if at that point where the power joins it, if that goes horribly wrong, then you're going to have an unpowered pod. So that would be issueless, wouldn't it?
So right now the power. So each pod has its own battery.
Okay.
But then I put them all in parallel, so they become one battery, and then they basically share power amongst themselves.
What battery are you using, lithium ion?
Yeah, they're 21-700s right now. There's 32 of them total. So it's each lift pod is a 4S 2P, and the whole drone is 40,000 milliamp 4S. That's the prototype. So now we got some cells that are, well, right now they're 5,000 milliamp, and that we've got 6,000 milliamp, with no change in weight. So that's quite an improvement in performance.
Well, we haven't tested the 6,000 million version yet.
No, I haven't tested it.
I'm liking this honesty, chaps. I am liking this honesty. This is good.
It's unusual, isn't it?
It is unusual, yeah. Honesty.
One question regarding development. So from the beginning of development, how long did it take for you to be, happy that you have a product? Right from,
it was about 2.5 years of mostly Orion beating his head against a wall, but like we were able to get, once we got to the 2-hour flight test, we were like, wow, I think we've got something that's pretty special. And so that's why in March of this year, we launched publicly. Prior to that, we were in stealth mode. We weren't talking about it, didn't have a website. And so in March, we launched the website. And then in July, we started the pre-order. So, we're kind of, I don't know if I want to compare us to Tesla and the Cybertruck, but like we might not be the greatest analogy or metaphor, but we are in a very late development stage on the prototype. So a lot of the answers we are giving you are based on what we know now of the prototype, but we actually got a grant from New York State to build our production center. We were able to raise a seed round. And so what we're doing is, with all the pre-orders that we're getting, we're using that feedback loop there to kind of figure out how to incorporate all the lessons we've learned and all the great feedback that we've heard from folks like you in actually producing the production version. So that process, we're now almost 3 years in now, that it's been like 6 or 7 months since we went public with it.
And
I will say,
right.
Yeah, I saw that question about the yaw.
Yeah, definitely answer that one.
Yeah,
so
this is where we've struggled with this one. This has been hard.
Yeah, so I didn't want to say it. So yeah, building, when I started actually printing this stuff, that's been, 2-3 years, but I was working on the genetic algorithm and there's a few algorithms that go on, not just one on the prop, but that took several years before I actually started making parts. So it's been quite a long time. As far as the yaw problem, so the prototype, I read a paper. It said, 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degrees is going to help you. So I just, picked something in there. It does have enough yaw authority as it is right now. So on the rotisserie, I had to, I think normally, I think it's the D term on the yaw. Normally that's not on for yaw, like stock in the Arty Pilot. I basically had to do like a full sort of tune on the yaw, and it's because the mass is so distributed, you're basically doubling your moment of inertia, like the IZ axis, when you're yawing, but versus like pitching, you're only moving half of the mass around the center of mass. But it it yaws, it does pretty well. But one of the things, and Justin, I guess I think we can talk about it. Maybe these guys can help us out. But one of the things I'd like to do is add a tail rotor to it, which sounds, kind of like, why do you want to do that? But I'd like to smash together the code bases for heli and the multi-rotor and Artipilot and add a tail rotor, because it's not necessarily that it needs it. Like for the production version, we'll probably just put the lift pods at a bit more angle, like maybe 5 or 7 degrees to get just a little bit more yaw authority. But I think that would actually help the efficiency, not just for this drone, but you could add it to other large multi-rotors, because you're not fighting the yaw all the time while you're flying.
Yeah. But it's also, so I mean, I think it's a really good question too, because while we've noticed at the end of a very long flight, the control becomes sloppy because that's probably the wrong word, but you start losing yaw authority as the voltage starts dropping, like when you get to a critical point. So that's something that, we start feeling that around 2 hours. And I think it's a critical thing for us to solve in order to, because we don't want to stop at 2 hours. We want to go even farther. So it's something that we need to solve to kind of really unlock like a lot more time in the air, which is something I think is pretty important.
Yeah, these cylindrical cells. I'll go quick, I guess. Yeah, the cylindrical cells, like a normal pouch cell, the drop off at the end is on the voltage is pretty steep, but on a cylindrical cell, I mean, there's quite a bit of capacity left over when the voltage starts dropping off. And so, when you're yawing, you're basically hanging the drone off of 2 of the props for a quad. So, it's going to kill you there when you're starting to run out of voltage.
Yeah, but there's going to be an end of it. That's the end of the flight envelope. The battery time. So you're just going to have to accommodate that, aren't you? You're going to have to know that, find that point, and say, well, it goes this long, and no more. Or you tilt it. Don't you tilt it forward and shake it a bit, Bruce, so the electrons go down, fall down the back. You get more.
You think it would be easier to yaw at the end because most of the electrons would have been used and so be lighter. But does payload weight make a difference to your response?
So yeah, I mean, so like if you're empty weight and you're hovering and you're near fully charged, but you want to stay at the same altitude. So like it's going to hang all the weight off 2 of the props. So if you have more payload, then you're going to make more thrust to stay level when you're yawing. So all that to say, when you're fully charged and you have more payload, I think you will have more of a yawing moment that you can create while staying at level flight.
And Louis makes a good point there. I know what I'd do. I'd call Tridge and say, Tridge, and Tridge will be able to live tune this from Australia. I'd call Tridge and just hook him up to your
If you could set us up with Tridge, that would be awesome. I've watched so much stuff from him. I'm a fan.
I wonder if we can we invoke Tridge? Someone else talk. I'll see if I can invoke the Tridge. Summon Tridge. I'll try and summon Tridge now. What's the time in Australia? We might be able to get him on, but yeah, him and I'm sure the guys, as Louis says, the Argipilot configuration. Check the Argipilot channel. Yeah, there's new videos. Not Tridge here. He would, Louis. You know what he's like. Yeah, I think at the recent conference, there was quite a bit on tuning big multi-rotors, and it would be a wonderful thing to have at the conference in Yorkshire next year, to come and see you guys, to come across to the UK, come to Yorkshire and show us this. So I'm sure the images that you're showing us in here are probably a little bit off reality, because otherwise the whole world and his dog's going to copy what you've done, and you've probably got it all protected to the hilt before you went public. I hope you have. But Gary, they're being so honest. Yeah, that is a major problem for them. Being honest is a bit of an issue. I'm actually just trying to imagine someone behind the cameras of the 4 of them. They're going,
So this was all done with
No.
CGI. This video was done with CGI and AI. And how
Exactly.
does blockchain fit into this?
Yeah, where's all the renders? Yeah, exactly. Where's the slide pack?
And AI. Yeah, we use that too. Yeah.
Blockchain.
Blockchain.
Must be
Yeah.
blockchain.
Yeah. I mean, I think those are our core warts that you brought up, though. Like, I think there's definitely going to be a question about its durability. Can I, a lot of DJI owners are like, hey, I can throw the Phantom in the back of my truck. I don't even put it in a case anymore. So I think that's definitely an objection we need to overcome or get understanding from people, whether like how much that matters, because when you lift it, like we joke like, hey, I hope you don't have a back problem, and then we hand the lift pod to someone and they their arm goes up when they grab it because they think it's going to be way heavier, but the darn thing only weighs a half a pound. So I think that's going to be a huge perception problem. Like, can I trust this thing to carry like a $10,000 lidar when it's just so light? I think that's going to be a problem for us to convince people that it's the right approach. I mean, what's your view on that? Do you think that's a
my instant gut feel is you're building a fantastic ISR platform, and if it flies for argument's sake, let's say you can get up to 4 hours. If it can fly 4 hours with a reasonable ISR payload, that reduces the number of takeoff and landings quite dramatically, and that you're taking quite a lot of risk away there, because the danger's in takeoff and landing. It's not in the flying bit. That's generally the quite safe bit. So I think you're on the right track. It just has to be thought of in a different way to your Phantom that you've chucked in the car. It's a different beast you're building. But that's I don't know what the other chaps are. But I wanted to answer Lou and a thing. Leonard is on this bit of paper. That's who I was going to suggest as well, Louis.
I was going to add, you can have reassurance by having videos on your website anyway. If you show it, with a larger payload of that, have an example, fly, time-lapse video of it, so you see it up there for 4 hours in 20 seconds, that kind of thing. And then people can, once people can see, yes, that's it, and give people idea of the use cases, that's half the problem solved.
Are we getting close to a dirigible now?
As far as the time.
We don't have a dirigible idea, but we do have a VTOL variant that we can't tell you about because we are working on that. But we think there's a lot of different avenues you can take with this structure, like Lego piecing them together to form different variants.
TM.
I did want to say,
you have to say TM, isn't it? Go on, after you.
Yeah, I was going to throw in. So, I had my it was a Top Flight DC-3. I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but it was 2 4-strokes and flaps and retracts, and bringing that thing up from the basement. You're trying to not smash it on the doors and the walls. And I mean, this drone is the same thing. And I usually move very slowly when I'm carrying this thing, but I will say I have smacked it on stuff a few times, and so the rims, the ducts, so they're really stiff, sort of around the axis of rotation of the propeller, which is good because you don't want the prop to crash into the ducts, but they flex up and down quite a bit, and that's actually handling the drone. It's kind of, I've gotten a lot more confident. It's like, if I smack it on something, it just bumps into it, it just bounces right off. So it's kind of like, make it stiff where you want it and have it flex where it helps you to just bounce off stuff.
I'm sure I've heard Bruce say that before.
Could you make it like a Lego set so that the power modules basically just clip together? So when you're transporting it, you unclip it, stick them in a stack, stick them in one box, and stick the center section in another box?
Yeah, exactly. So
that's how I seen it as well. Yeah, that's how I seen it.
The quad, the idea is going to be that the two of them on each side will just fold down into a box. So you pull it out, you flip the 2 up, you flip the other 2 up, and you attach them, in the center somewhere, and then you're ready to fly.
This prototype does not do that. It's completely fused together.
Those are
Yeah.
Kevlar bracing wires.
What was the last? What'd you say?
Is that Kevlar you're using for the rigging?
Oh no, it's just 80-pound fishing line, but not
Fishing
the flexi
line.
kind, the stiff stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it is
very
Kevlar.
expensive, very expensive stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 80-pound is just so it's got some abrasion resistance, and so you can actually see it and not cut yourself on it.
Analog for the win.
Analog for the win. Well, yeah, but there's lots of there's many aviation saws that you can pull out, isn't there? It looks right, it'll fly right, and the only thing to add to any aircraft when you design it is lightness. I mean, so there's many things that you can pull out the hat for this. And I'm hoping this is a before they're famous video from us again. We've done it with quite a few companies.
We did it with Skydio.
We did it with Skydio. Yeah, we did. Yeah. See how well that's going.
We gave them their big break.
Yeah, we did. So we're trying to do it again here. I like the shed. Very nice shed as well.
My wife wants to know, why did you choose black and red?
I had a bunch of the black because I bought a 5-kilogram spool and I wanted something that I could see with my eyeballs. So I got red. Actually, I don't know if you're familiar with the Voron 3D printers, but that was kind of a color scheme. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
So what's it printed? What filament?
It's a foaming filament.
Foaming PLA.
For the prototype, yeah, but for the
we found that was a problem though, because it would melt in the back of Orion's truck, which we didn't think was a good product feature.
The red actually does quite a bit better than the black in the sun. But for the production version, it's going to be a foaming ASA, which has a much higher.
You're not going to use carbon fiber, traditional carbon laminates.
I've certainly thought about it, but kind of goes into the business model, like the sort of a franchise potentially type of thing. Like we want to be able to like pretty much for anybody to be able to build this thing and make it really simple. So the foaming ASA really goes to that. But yeah, you could do like an embedded composite. Like we're going to do multi-material prints with carbon fiber in there for the reinforcement, stuff like that. But
we want to be really sensitive. Like we really want our design and engineering ethos for all of our products is we want incredibly high performance, but very low cost. We want to constantly drive the cost down.
But not the price, just the cost.
Both. I mean, honestly, we're going to have a very large patent portfolio, but we don't only want to rely on that. We want people to not be interested in competing with us because it doesn't make sense for them to compete with us because we're constantly driving the price down. And we think we can do that based on the production cell design that we've come up with. We've developed our own 3D printer technology. We have a different way of building it than I think most drone manufacturers do. So it's what Orion was alluding to is that our production cell is very compact and we can get, even at very low volumes, we can be profitable. But what we want to do is enable other people in their garages to become part of our partnership, and they build their own production cell and they build their own utility pods, and so they're not only competing with DJI, but they're competing with other partners in the Modovolo universe. And so we believe that entire network is going to create a lot of innovation and also drive a lot of costs down, because everyone will be there'll be collaboration, but there'll also be competition among those partners. So we think it's a different way of thinking about producing these instead of being. we have no interest in being completely vertically and horizontally integrated. We want to harness the innovation and effort of a wide body of people and companies.
So basically, you're looking at licensing the IP and making the money from that.
Yeah, I mean, we want, everyone needs to make money in order to survive, but we want to make, we want our partners to be successful as well. So we will try not to be the Microsofts of the world in licensing.
So the SD files on Thingiverse?
Funny to mention that.
Sparky, yes, we will send you the STL file.
maybe we'll release like 2 years old versions on printables and Thingiverse later.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not?
Well, it's interesting. We did just mention briefly Skydio, but they've just gone and bought all of GoPro's patents, haven't they? So
yep. So
one wonders the sort of what the real value in that is. What am I trying to say? Without it, do they have any value if you can't either enforce them or monetize them when you buy them? I don't know. Have you got a better? Can you think what I'm trying to think, Bruce? I'm not sure that buying patents is a
I
good
have
way
no
around.
idea what you think at any time, Gary.
No, true. Fair enough. Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. It just.
I think there is value in patents because, I mean, you can sort of shape the market a bit with them. For example, we've seen in the camera market where Red had it so that no other camera manufacturer could record RAW in camera, which unfortunately kind of stifles the market, but it makes life a bit more annoying. That's why I've always got to have external SSDs to record to on the Lumix stuff because of that patent, and that's why Nikon likely bought them in the end because Nikon bought out Red because Red was trying to take Nikon to court for the patent infringement, so Nikon just bought Red and got out of it that way. So
how does Black Magic do it?
They clearly have value, even if it's just to make sure that you prohibit other manufacturers from utilizing certain features.
Yeah, I'm just coming in from the layman's. Let's hope we don't see one at Gatwick. Yeah, exactly, Sparky. Because this will be quieter and things like
Actually,
that.
This must have been the Gatwick drone because how long was that up for?
Hours, exactly. This is it. We found it. There we are. We found the Gatwick drone.
Here it is. It's on video.
Oh, you can film it. Oh, you're right. That one was invisible,
Yeah,
wasn't
not
it?
invisible.
Oh, yeah. You're right. It's we'll end up banning ghost drones. Yeah, absolutely. As well, you're stumping me a bit.
The whole IP licensing thing is a really good business model because it doesn't tie up your capital and assets and stuff that you don't need. And the value of IP is whatever you set it at, rather than being a cost plus calculation. So if you look at some of the biggest companies in the world, they've made most of their money from patents and licensing. So it's a good road to go down.
That's
I think
wanted from you, Bruce.
The only problem with it though is China doesn't kind of pay much attention.
Yeah, but you can't import drones from China anymore. You know that.
All I was thinking of, somebody in China will be doing their own copies of it and selling them in that market, won't they? Unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think that's a huge issue with our business model, and I think that's another reason to be hyper focused on pricing and driving costs down. But I think it's inevitable. I think you're absolutely right. It's inevitable, if we are successful, that there are going to be people who copy it, and that's cool. We want people to engage in it, and we want partners. We want to grow that network. So hopefully we'll have the right balance so that the benefits of being a partner far outweigh those kind of activities. But
I was going to say too with that.
I was just saying, a way to stave off competition like that, or people like that, is make sure you're constantly innovating, so you always have the best, and therefore they have always got the second best. So you've always got a market advantage.
What is everyone's
that's-
thoughts on like the Arduino ecosystem?
It's the
So like
best.
what?
Too many
End of
parameters.
story. That's it. Finished. Yeah. No need to. No further discussion.
Yeah. All right, good.
We
Done.
can have one gripe.
Yeah, there we
which
are.
is the lack of an official Ardu gimbal. It's still a bit. Still don't think. I still don't think the whole gimbal thing's as good as it could be. You know, you've got like your Grems is really the go-to, but I think there have been one or two Chinese things out. So I think it is improving, but it would be nice to see a little bit more innovation there. To me, that's only ever been the only weakness of RG Pilot, just because I mean it's kind of easier for DJI because they're doing the whole thing, and they've always made the camera the key part of it, where RG Pilot's trying to be all things to all people. You know, it doesn't tie you into use case, does it? So, but yeah, I mean, if you're going to go for anything open source, it's the one I go to. What I like about RG Pilot right back from the beginning was, you know, they are open and transparent about issues when they come up and get them fixed, and that's what you really need is continually not just getting the improvements on there, but anything that's around stability, safety, and that there's always some work around that. You know, they were always initially years ahead of, and probably still are really ahead of DJI, just because you get all the logs from people feeding in that you can find issues and then resolve them very quickly. And there isn't that same thing with a commercial provider where you kind of don't want to always admit that something's wrong, because then you'll have customers coming back at you for refunds, and you don't have that issue with the open source software.
I think did you ask that question because of course immediately it sounded to me like you needed to have a community behind this product, really, if you're wanting to go into this. Everyone has a go, make your own 2-year-old version at home, see if you can improve it, whatever. Were you speaking to RG Pilot because of the community side of it? Help me understand why you asked that question.
So I can answer that one. So I said release the 2-year to like Thingiverse, but the idea would be really anyone could be sort of part of this in the network, and they would get the most up to date. So like the idea, to your point, was to out innovate. So I don't think we're going to outproduce China, but I think we can out innovate them, and to be the first to market type of principle. And so the more people all over the place that can be messing with this, improving it, and then actually having, we talked about the licensing. Yeah, we're going to do that, but people that are part of the ecosystem can actually own a big portion of what they contribute in that ecosystem. And so it's partially distributing the ownership is one of the things that we want to do, like really empower people to be like part of this.
Are you partners? Are you RG Pilot partners? Are you part of the Partners program?
No.
Don't worry. No, you should find out a bit about the Partners program. You should find out about the Partners program.
Is there an affiliate link in this video description?
Affiliate link, yeah, of course. There's every one of my videos got affiliate links, and I need to put something on this chair like the other Ian. But anyway, exactly. And Mitchell's got it right. The ethos is basically, and Louis, who's in the comments, is a very key dev at RG Pilot. It does. The people put back stuff that benefits everybody, and that's the cool thing about it. And it doesn't hide behind licenses that let people close it up either. That's another thing. But I won't go down that rabbit hole too much. So yeah, this video probably warranted watching with sound because it's two people going. But you can see that things been moved around, and you've obviously is that the great big U-Haul trailer that you have to take it
comes in, Gary. That's the box you
no,
put.
Yeah, is that the box? Yeah.
That's So it comes with your free U-Haul, each one.
So the U-Haul, this was a combo trip. We went and got our production equipment about 3,000 pounds of production tables. That's the U-Haul, but the drone is in the truck.
Yeah, there's a part of this video where you can see you can see it in the bed of the truck. I think it's at the beginning, or actually that might have been Mark's video on it. But yeah,
there it is.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
right there.
On that video. Now you're going to see how I have no idea how to work YouTube. Right.
It's almost there.
Try rebooting your mouse, Gary.
Reboot your mouse. It's nice.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. So I think the other wart that I could see people objecting to, so like the durability, like can I throw it in the back of my van or truck or whatever? And then I think that it is much larger than a lot of commercial drones. So even though it's half the weight of a DJI Matrice 300, the footprint of it is much larger. So you'll see that in the scale of it in the back of this pickup truck.
But that only ever speaks to that just speaks to the use case, though, doesn't it? It's meaningless if it's airborne with a thing. Oh, there it is. There it is, right there. If it's airborne doing a thing for two hours, it doesn't matter what size it is. It's in the sky and gone. So I think that's going to be one of your things is actually getting to people understanding what it's for. But as Ian said earlier, that then is also videos of it doing a thing on SGS News. Always news stories with people next to a thing or doing, and stories of doing a thing with a thing that solves somebody's problem always do way better than here is our thing for sale. It costs this much. It goes this high and this fast. Never go as well. Never go as well at all.
For me, the thing with this to sell it is to get an emergency services, so a police force, fire service, whatever, in the US to use this to deploy it for an actual task. Because that's, for me, where I see the value with the flight time here, is that you can put it up. And again, the camera's a bit less important. As long as you've got a zoom camera up there, you don't have to have your quite video quality for your pans and whatnot. It's more of, can I just see what I need to see? So you've got that of, watching, demonstrations, for example, the crowd control. There's that. And also traffic. Councils would love this. Watching out for them fly tippers.
But it suddenly makes the whole drone in a box.
We promise we won't let people use it for speeding tickets. That's our pledge right now.
Again, to mention Skydio again, did we all see the story where the Skydio had had that investor in the pockets of a local police force? It's all sorts of shenanigans gone down there this week. It's very interesting watching them unravel. And they were here first years ago, years and years ago.
So are you suggesting if you go on your show, you eventually become evil? Is that the lesson?
One or the other. No, a couple have done very well. It's one or the other. Yeah, I'm afraid it's 50-50. It's 50-50. Cliff's going to work on the pizza release mechanism. Good idea. But
I like that.
There's a lot of fuss about drones in a box for what are they calling it? Drones for first responders. Personally, I don't think that is going to be a market that's around for very long, because once they get used to having aerial assets coming quickly, they'll want endurance. Now, if you can bring VTOL endurance to them, proper endurance, not if you're working, you've mentioned that you're working on a winged version, as it were, then obviously that's going to bring some serious endurance, and then that's the sort of platforms that will be used by the police, fire and rescue. And people for years have been trying to do that. Stuff airborne all day.
To be transparent, it's on paper right now. I'm trying to convince Orion and the rest of the engineering team to sleep less so we can get to that faster, but it's not been successful.
Your main problem is going to be being honest in this industry. I have to say it. I don't know if the others are going to chip in here. If unfortunately, we all know the drone industry is actually propelled by BS, and it doesn't mean that the right stuff gets to the right places. I don't mean.
I'll jump in and say that there are for me, a lot of the people where they have been straight and shown the integrity doing well, like I mentioned before, Bobby with Manor, you can ask him questions, you'll get answers back. So to me, it shows that the people know the products and they can be successful in that, especially if you've got people that are investing in you and you can come across and your stuff. It goes a bit further. You see so many companies that are still getting the money. If you ask them any questions, they've got no answers. And, for us, I've been here around long enough, that's alarm bells time.
Yeah, and I certainly haven't been getting that now. So that is very nice. It's very refreshing to not have alarm bells ringing. So thank you, chaps. That's grand. Look, we've gone to an hour. Please stay with us. We must just rush through a few stories because Ian will have at least an hour and a half to 2 hours to discuss the latest Gatwick shenanigans. And Louis been hanging by a thread waiting for that to happen because it's his favorite part of the thing. But let me just quickly whiz through a few things, and we might even come back and ask you some more questions as we think about them. And of course, as I said that, what I should have been able to do was slickly go to the next slide that I had prepared, but I've not slickly done that. But let's go to one now. Go. Why isn't it sharing? There it is. God, that took ages. So did we see this? Ukraine thermal cameras building their own. They're quite cheap as well. So that's quite interesting, I thought. Any thoughts on that, anyone? Going once, going twice?
Are they selling the cameras alone?
How cheap is it? It's if you buy 5,000 units, it's $150 a go. Up to 500, 250.
How good is the quality?
It's only black and white.
It says right there, high quality image. It tells you.
Oh yeah.
High quality image doesn't really tell you very much.
No.
For all your targeting needs.
Hence, Gary was talking about the BS.
Well, a very good example. A little bit. But is it? Well, we don't know.
Look, I hadn't even got all the screws.
It looks very small.
Only the size.
Well, it's only because we're far away.
If I had a dollar for every
it's a long
woman
way
that said
away.
that to
It's
me.
going to be small. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's battlefield tested. I think we can say, don't we? It'll be interesting to watch. But one thing what it does point to, and ever increasingly things are pointed to, is that Ukraine is building an industry for creating drones, and it is making its parts, it's making its motors, it's making flight controllers. So when they eventually win, they are going to be in a very strong position in the drone world, a very, very strong position.
Just like Israel was many years ago.
Very true. Yeah, very true. And some of us are old enough to remember that. And then this amused me, if nothing else but for the name, the Doctor One. I love that name. This one's always going to go far in SES News because of the name. But
I see what they did there.
You do see what they did there. So that's flying. I wish them well with that. And we mentioned Bobby Healy. Why did I do that? I'm so professional.
Amateurs on the controls.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't get paid enough. Not like you lot. Did we see this? Bobby's accident.
Was it one of Bobby's?
Yeah, it was one of Bobby's.
Yeah.
Lost propeller.
That was a while ago, though, wasn't it? It was quite a while ago.
It was 2 years ago, I think, wasn't it?
2 years ago, yeah, and the reports just come out. But I thought that the Irish Air Investigation Unit's report is pretty comprehensive and was pretty good. I was impressed. These things are going to happen. So that's on the news if you want to have that. Has anyone got any thoughts on that, Steve?
Yeah, I've not read down the full report there, which is probably quite interesting to go through. But I did know with the summaries out there that there's a lot of reassuring things still within that. In that you've got the dual flight system, and where the secondary one took over, and you've got the parachute successfully deploying. So really, those are your key things in the mitigation when something had gone wrong. At least that was there, and it kicked in.
With the Swiss cheese model, all it needed was remote ID, and everyone would have been safe.
Yeah.
That extra layer of protection.
But I think that they have a new. Well, I think they've had 2 new versions of that drone out now. So, how much of it is different, I really don't know. But on a positive note, I think that it's good to see this kind of reporting because we need to, because this is the reality of what we are going to see in the future. We will see drones falling out of the sky, and we will have incidents like this, and if you want to say accidents, and it shouldn't. And I'm actually glad that what is being reported about this now, especially with Gary now obviously putting this out on his site, it's not being glamorized. It's not let's say unnecessary use of headlines. Let's say pointing fingers.
I did try.
At least it wasn't an air taxi.
I think one good thing here, Gary, is that you didn't put mana on the headline, right? You put delivery drone, propeller, injures bystander. That is more than enough, right?
He could have said falling pedestrian interferes with falling drone.
Yeah, well,
yes.
Apparently, the guy was actually mowing his was actually mowing the lawn, and he couldn't hear it because obviously he was mowing the lawn at the same time, which again is really good information. But I think from a purely public acceptance point of view, this is how these stories should be reported. Rather than, because if this was the Daily Mail or the Sun or the UK or the Irish Times, you can guarantee that it would have been blown way out of proportion.
He's not part of the narrative. He's not part. One thing, does the standard for mitigation, does it include a loud audio beeper when the safety things kick in? Because if you're walking on with earpods in or something, again, something could fall on your head, you wouldn't know. Surely they must have a very loud audio alert if the parachute deploys or something, so people below know something.
No, I don't think that's the thing at the minute. Well, maybe that could be kind of a learning.
To me, this would indicate there'd be ideal proof that would be a valuable addition.
Well, I was impressed. I was impressed with the I thought the way the Irish investigation unit handled it as well was, in some ways, was a little bit better than the AAIB has been handling things. I thought it was a good report, factually.
I'm impressed with the targeting. I mean, nailing that guy while he's mowing his lawns, that's pretty good going.
It's very impressive to get a bloke mowing the lawn. It is very, very accurate. You're very, very true. Very, very true.
I did wonder about that though, when I've seen that there's been like bus crashes, and then people have jumped on board and said they were on.
But I think I believe
about a drone going down. You'd all been running out into your garden and going, "I was hit by a propeller." But
that's right.
So it must have been the propeller that actually came off that hit him, not the actual drone itself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so it'd be quite a long way from the drone.
Praise God. Full moon. Yeah, Mitchell saying praise coming out. Yeah, I know. Look, Bruce has been ill, so that's why suddenly we can praise people. And
also, the amount of money Gary pays us depends on how much we praise him.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Precisely. And Christmas is coming up. We need all the money we can get.
Exactly. You need your bonuses. Exactly.
It was good that you mentioned the AAIB, because that was what worried me. We've seen drone crashes from far smaller drones.
Yeah.
And then we've had the AAIB bringing out the drops tool, saying a drone could kill people from being like 5 meters up, and trying to pressure the CAA to stop overflight. And that's the difference, If you've got that coming out, where it's you'll never get anything in the air. There has to be safety. We also needs to have the science behind it, where we, as we mentioned before, we've not really had that assure level science. It's all a little bit basic, and overestimates the damage a drone could potentially do.
Yeah, I think the report was well written. It was sensible. It had all the fact. It was done properly as an aviation
Somebody slipped
report
up.
should somebody slipped up. Yeah. And talking about dropping payloads on people, Ian, we've is that showing? Was that slick? Did that work then? No, it's not, because it's still not showing up. Yeah. There it is. That wasn't slick at all. That took ages. I clicked that button ages ago. That was supposed to go clink, and there it was. But anyway, talking about dropping payloads, the prison drop thing is, and I saw somebody this week on LinkedIn was also made a big hoo-ha about it as well, a counter UAS company. But you've been having a word. Over to you, Ian.
Yeah, I've not seen the counter UAS company, I don't think, on LinkedIn, but I have seen a retailer, and I thought, come on, retailers, you should know a bit better than that. If you're selling drones, even if you're selling counter drones as well, you can do a counter drone story positively about a thing without having to be hysterical as well. Which, if I was selling counter drones, say, I would, I'd say there's an issue around prisons. However, there's always been an issue around prisons, and where there are issues, it's generally the prison itself in its entirety has issues. The stuff will be coming in from the mailroom through staff as well as drones, and I'd be looking at solutions that were very, I'd have a range of solutions starting off at something very, very affordable, because, sometimes these things are just purely down to budget. But anyway, getting onto the topic of this specifically, the story, as it was when we discussed it on the show a few weeks ago, was saying, being hysterical about, like drones are the problem around prisons. Where in fact it was an action day where they were dealing and discussing the entirety of issues at prisons, saying drones are just one of the issues involved. And there was mention of a drop of a 7 kilogram or just slightly over 7 kilogram of contraband. Now, keeping in mind, as I mentioned, could the contraband in these kind of drops include stuff like tomato sauce? So it's not all just, drugs that are going to cause harm. But amongst this drop, apparently there was, amongst the part of ketchup and phones or whatever else, there were drugs. But the way it was presented was, you would think, with this newspaper story and Jones, prisons, blah, 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 that you'd be talking about tens or hundreds or thousands of cases. So I asked the force, or what do you consider, because he used the word huge. So I said, what do you consider as being a huge payload?
Yeah. I mean, it is an impressive payload amount that drone was able to carry. And I think you could argue too that he was just trying to help his mate. It could be a story, a feel-good story.
It could. I'm not seeing the answer here. Where's
the attachment there? Click it, download, and you've got a letter back, and you'll see how many there were. Have a guess already, if viewers at home. But here we've got the answer. And now, credit to Manchester Force here. They've said we consider the answer to just be going outside of what we have to say for freedom of information, but we're going to tell you anyway. But they have said we don't have any definition of a huge payload, and we are aware of at least one. So they're only aware of actually one of these instances occurring. So you've got a newspaper story that makes it sound like it's an everyday occurrence. But
that was the important bit, which contained a significant quantity of illicit, including controlled drugs.
Yeah.
But it was the whole unit weighed 7 kilos, I think.
Why would you want a bowling ball in prison?
Yeah, that's right. It's very niche. It's a very niche thing. Very niche. Yeah, so that was a good one. And
one more thing here. I think that they say that if you want to really be successful in business, you should really study drug dealers, because they know how to do business, right? Because they know how to get profit and all the rest of it. But it seems to be that if you want to understand how to do drone operations with payloads, you should also talk with drug dealers.
Experts in delivery,
because they seem to understand, the center of gravity quite well. Because if they're delivering 7 kilograms under pressure, right, knowing that they're doing something wrong, and they're being, if they're being successful with it, these people are actually quite clever.
I was going to say, though, the problem here is they haven't been successful. It's been caught. So it might be the one and only attempt.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I'm seeing a shift in our business priorities to target that market.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I'm hearing.
There you go. Yes, but it's this also speaks to the way that press handles drone stories, and as we go back to the incident report in Ireland, huge payloads and single lines, and the chaps from America haven't realised that Ian is he points, he goes and nags at the press and goes to press complaints commission and gets things changed, and he gets that little retraction that's on page 47 right at that bottom in the tiniest print possible. That's what Ian manages to get, but at least he gets it. That's the main thing. We get the retractions, and some newspapers in the UK have even stopped some of the language that they were using around drones.
Look who's cracking jokes in the comments. That guy that used to be on Drone and Sundry.
Oh yeah, Kingpin. Oh yeah, there you go. Hello, Jonathan. How you doing?
G'day, Jonathan.
How you going? Always on his running machine, John. He's probably done 1,000 kilometers.
He's probably nearly got his lighting right.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I hope you're well, Jonathan. I hope you're well. What else did I want to say? I don't know. I don't know if I wanted to say anything. I don't know if I wanted to say anything else.
We can mention the last thing with the DFT, can't we?
Go on then, if you insist.
Yeah, just for people that know from last week, the Department for Transport. So basically, we've got government lawyers now involved in fighting a Gatwick freedom of information, where 4 emails have been deleted, and then kind of the excuse is, well, it's kind of a lot of hassle and it's a bit of expense to delete, to get these 4 emails back. Yet we've got the entire Information Commissioner's legal team, and now the DFT put the government's legal team to fight me to stop getting these 4 emails back. Now that's going to cost surely a load more money in comparison. But the nice thing is we've got, obviously you'll know Brendan in the US. In the UK, the best known drone lawyer is Richard Ryan, and he's a former CAA legal. And he's jumped onto the case. So there's already been a letter that's landed with the DFT. So he's my representative to fight this in court now, which is good. He's a nice chap. And I spent the whole weekend. I was up to like 5 a.m. in the morning doing like visual timelines of what went on, because it's quite complicated. There was quite a few freedom of information in parallel. So I just wanted to show it to Richard first so we understood, but he got it all. He could just see what I've had to deal with. And then that evening, I think he'd already was well on with the letter. So I appreciate the fact he's jumped in and helped.
And again, for those
Jonathan is a lawyer.
Jonathan's a lawyer. Yeah, we've got to plug lawyers. And he's absolutely right. He's got a train to chase ambulances. Of course he has. What I was going to say about Richard was, for those that don't know it, is that when the Gatwick drone incident happened, he lived near Gatwick because he was the civil aviator. Was he head of legal at the CAA? I can't remember what he was at the time.
I think it was something like that.
Something like that. And because there's the drone registration, all that in the UK, they had his name on a list, and the police knocked on the door of the head of legal of the CAA as a suspect for being the Gatwick drone person. So the Sussex police must
has he ever denied
the
it,
day. Has he ever denied it? You're right. But they must rue the day that they knocked his door. They really must. Wrong person. Absolutely wrong person to knock the door of. So no, he's He's a really good egg, and I'm glad he's on board with that. There's a few more things, but we can't talk about that to do with that. But there is shenanigans from the UK government. I think I'm allowed to say that, and I don't know how we're going to, or how Ian's. That's nothing to do with me, Governor. Nothing to do with me. I'm not having my doors kicked down. I don't know how Ian's going to cope with all this.
I bet he hasn't paid his TV license too.
Yeah, that's right. Something like that. Now, on that waffle order, is there any more for any more? We're going for an hour and 20.
No.
Going once,
Nothing.
going twice.
I had a quick comment about the prop thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
A couple articles back, you're talking about the the reporting. I come from a aviation background also, but I've seen a lot of like military reports, and that was pretty good one for that. But I did want to say, ours, it's I don't know how it is in Europe, but it's shrouded rotors. That's one of the requirements to fly over people. And so this design is pretty good that way, and if you had a blade attempt to exit, it would run into the ducts before it tore off. But I mean, the prop is also so light and has so much area that it's going to fall like a leaf, And the one failure we had was during that test flight, it kind of smacked the ground on the one side. So the ducts must have, shifted up and down, and the prop got caught in one of the strings, ripped into it. And I kind of got the sense like if I stuck my hand in there, it'd be like getting hit with like a piece of cardboard. It's not going to cut you.
Careful with your claims, though. Careful with your claims.
We're looking for volunteers on that.
Yes. Bruce, we send Bruce.
Yeah. He'll do it.
We'll send Bruce. Yeah, we'll send Bruce. But that's
I've done it before. I'll do it again.
Yeah, that's right. That's one of your promotional videos, though, isn't it? That's exactly a promotional video.
We're gonna get we're gonna get an intern, and that's gonna be his first job.
Oh no, it needs to be a small child carrying a puppy.
If you survive this, you're in.
Yeah, that's right. Welcome to the company. Now do this. Yeah, this is your initiation. That sort of thing. Gentlemen, you've been a breath of fresh air. I wish you all the best, and I hope it goes very well with you. You've been honest. We have I didn't have a need to get some official red cards. We have a ruling here on this stream that if something is common sense and straightforward, then we red card it, because that's and a football term. There we are. There's a red card because that doesn't normally fly in the drone industry. Common sense and just normal talk normally doesn't work. So you definitely would have been awarded a red card. So you did really, really, really well. So thank you very much. Dear viewers, wherever you are in the world, look after yourselves. We'll see you at 2100 Gin and Tonic next week. Cheers all. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.